All right, so today we're going to be learning about Jen Stark and talking about colors that she uses with some color theory, as well as just some of her creations that she's made that you can see using line. She will look at her video how she talks about her artwork, but she's always looking at using different types of materials and so forth.
So when you look at these images, what do you see? What colors do you see stand out? What do they remind you of? What material do you think she's using? How does it make you feel? So she loves playing with how color interacts with each other. And in our project today, we're going to be focusing on the drips. So let's take a look at her video here.
I've always been very fascinated with color and how a lot of the times color in nature is either an attractant or a repellent, something that makes you want to look at it or stay away from it or don't eat me or eat me, nice red berry. Also, I'm really interested in how colors react when they're next to each other, like if you put a certain color next to another, like color theory, how it can change and affect things. These are a few of my favorite things. My beautiful plant. Love the plant. Yeah, really inspired by pop-up books and paper engineering. Tom Friedman, very inspired by his work. He uses a lot of very simple ideas, usually process-based. I have a kind of small kaleidoscope collection. Yeah, this is really fun. Do you think you can get in here? Yeah? Woo! Awesome. The drip started, I think, on a t-shirt. I just created this t-shirt design of this one rainbow drip going down the front. And I wanted to make it look like it's sort of moving and very psychedelic. I think that's where it started. It might have started in my sketchbook before that, but then I started honing that in and kind of creating a pattern out of it. To me, it references psychedelia, altered states, maybe ayahuasca or mushrooms, just those psychedelic worlds, different dimensions. I just love how it's so dynamic looking. It looks like it's oozing and moving down. I guess the past year, I've been working on all sorts of different projects. I did a large-scale mural in the Facebook headquarters. And after that, I think in October, I did this mural in Culver City. And that was, I think, the largest mural I've done. It was 60 feet by 80 feet. I also did the MTV VMAs with Miley Cyrus last summer, which was awesome. During the VMAs, Miley, she slid down my wormhole design, which was amazing. It's so surreal to have that happen. I could have never dreamed that sort of thing. There's so many undiscovered things I feel, and I'm just trying to dive into a little bit of that in my work and pull bits and pieces of that other dimension into this one.
For this project, what you're going to need is a piece of paper, and I recommend using a fine tip marker or a pencil to start with if you want. And all you're going to do is create some different drips. So I'm just kind of making some wavy lines, and I create a drip here. Then off of the other one, I'm just going to slowly grow and make a wavier line to create a drip off that corner as well. And I'm going to continue. I'm going to do one just below this first one and have it grow, so it's right here in the middle, just helping myself with creating that. As you can see, and I'm going to do 2 more. My goal is to have the very bottom of my paper be blank because I'm going to cut that out so it looks more realistic like drips. So take your time as you're doing this and just kind of grow it up and down in any which way. There's no wrong way to do this. I will also, for those that are doing this at home, I will send home a copy so that way you can create off of the one that I have given you or do your own. Now, for this next part, what we're going to do is we're going to make these lines thicker. The reason we're doing that is it just helps as we do the lines on the inside of each of these drip shapes. It helps us be able to see the difference between where one drip area is and where another one is. So using a big, fat tipped marker, you can go through and be able to make it nice and thick. If you don't have that, just use your marker that's a thin tip one, or if you're using colored pencil, go ahead and just make it, outline it twice. So that way it just looks a little bit thicker. Here you can see I'm going to be starting adding in these types of lines. And by having that nice thick outline at the edge in the beginning really helps me see where one ended and one begins. So on your paper, you'll notice here I'm just going to go in and just thicken it even more, just so I can make it easier to see. So using that, it just makes it stand out a little bit more. As you begin, we're going to start drawing using, either a Sharpie, which I recommend if you're going to use other washable markers. I would use a Sharpie so that way it doesn't pick up on the black and turn your markers a different color. But here, just to show you, I'm going to be using a Crayola water marker, right? And it's going to be creating these lines nice and thin. So I'm using a thin tip marker and this way, all I'm going to do is follow the shape of that first line. So I'm just kind of following it. I'm having them rather close to each other. And I'm just repeating the same shape over and over again until there's no more room inside. Now, for this next part, this one gets a little tricky, and I'm going to do a beautiful oops on here to show you the mistake. So here I went all the way up to the top, just like I did on the other one, but it doesn't really work as you keep continuing on. It kind of makes the flow of it all change. What I should have done is just stop where I finished the line initially. I only brought it to that side. So here I would have put it to the side a little bit and it would have kept that mark. So that's something to keep in mind when you're in here. It's going to still work out regardless, but on this next one, I'll show you what I mean. So what you should do is you're going to start, like you normally would, where that line that you initially drew began, and you're just going to have it go all the way to the side and stop. Don't worry about going up to the top. You're just going to make sure it finishes all the way to that side. And that's how she does a lot of her pieces, is it just goes following the line itself. The one that I had just done a moment ago, I followed the middle line of this one instead of the one that I did for that bottom one. And it just flows a lot easier. It doesn't look as cramped and it kind of gives that geode look. So I'll repeat it again here. I'm following and I stop at the side. I'm not drawing it all the way up to the top. I'm following just where that line ended and trailed off. And it just gives it a lot better flow and look to it. Again, I'm using a, washable marker. And if I go in, using crayon would be better, but I really want to use my bright colored markers. So just keep in mind that when you start to color and make your color choices, make sure that you don't have the marker touch the black marker itself because it will bleed and create a little black mark on the colors. So use whatever tools you prefer: crayons, colored pencils, markers, Sharpie, and coloring in markers is all different options. For this next part, this is where the fun part comes in. Start thinking about the colors and how they react and play with each other, just like Jen Stark. So I'm going to pull up an image here for us, and you can look at how, one of her drips. And then also here's an image of a lot of other students' work as well that I compiled into a mural earlier this year. So on mine, what I'm doing is I'm planning. I'm planning where do I want the colors to go. It's a lot easier to plan and then go back in and color later because it'll help you going, oh, this is where I want this color to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little mark and go, okay, this entire line is going to be pink. This entire line will be purple. And this one will be green or that bluish, etc. So here you can play with your different favorite colors. You can stick with cool colors, warm colors, rainbow. You can stick with only your favorite colors. It could be all different variations and gradients of pink or purple or blues. It could be your favorite sports teams, whatever it is that makes you happy, because this is a reflection of you. So you can follow along with me and copy similar colors. But one thing that she does do is add in a lot of black and white in a couple areas. So my last two bottom drips are going to be black and white. And then the two on the top and one in the middle are going to be just different colors. And I'm going to play with it that way. So take this time to figure out your planning and then go in and start coloring. Once you're finished, take out your scissors and then just cut out that bottom part of the white. And there you have it. You have your very own Jen Stark drips. Continue making more if you want and piece together your very own drip mural. See what you can create.